All right, everybody. Next up, we have Jon Zeolla. Jon has over 10 years of information security experience and service. He serves as a co-founder and CTO of CISO. He's also not a huge fan of long bios. So with that, we'll get into his talk. Clean up your command line, take control of your computer.
I'm also short, so I'll move this down a little bit. There we go. And I also noticed I changed the title because I can do that. And it wouldn't be a real presentation about a command line if I had no mouse and just a keyboard. So we'll do this with just the keyboard. Sounds like fun. I do the pointer though, which I will use profusely. So thanks for coming to my talk. Let's get started. So you'll see me on the internet. That's the picture you'll see from me. That's my name, although it's close to the cigar. There's actually no H in my name, so spell it right, please. Thank you. Jon Zeolla. And you'll mostly find my stuff on GitHub there. Sorry, that's a little hard to see. So I am born and bred in Pittsburgh. I've been in Pittsburgh my entire life, and I don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. I co-founded a consulting company called CISO, where I'm the CTO. I co-organize another event very similar to this called BSides Pittsburgh. I also started and ran a group called Stowe City InfoSec, which is a monthly event for kind of getting hands-on with technical things, which is kind of fun. I also started a PitSec project because I get bored sometimes and I just need something new to do. So this is a community where people interested in InfoSec can kind of get together, talk, learn from each other, and also share things like challenges you're having or job openings you have or jobs that you might, if you're seeking a job. So check out pitsec.com if you're interested. Also an Apache Software Foundation member, which means I use the keyboard a lot, and I have opinions. So, in my opinion, C should set everyone fast. There we go. Right. And we're going to talk about exactly why right now. So the rest of my presentation is pretty much GIFs that I've been working on today. So luckily, my presentation started at 3:30 in the afternoon, so I could do this for you guys. I don't actually have my computer here. So let's see how this works. All right, so this is a bash shell, native one with Mac and version 3.2 from 2007. I'm running a script called test, but I forget when I ran that. So that's right. Whoa. That's right.
With one hand.
Yeah, this is one hand. So how long did that take? When did it start to finish? Okay, now I get to run date before and after it. I should also run time before I run the script. All right, now I've got some cool information, but did it error? No, I don't know. That's actually the exit code for date, not for test. So now I have to do something different. Let's use an associative array maybe. We know it's erroring, so that's kind of annoying. Let's see if we can use an associative array to hold on to that information. Oh no! Seriously, Mac, your version of Bash from 2007 does not have certain functions that we would want. Who would have thought? Who would have thunk it? So instead, now let's install a new version of Bash because, if you're a Mac user, you probably use brew. If you don't, I highly suggest it. So I'll install Bash. So let's try this again with a new shell. This one is in 5.0.3, and it came out, this year. Declare attempts actually works, so I can run this big old command, which is a doozy. Tells you when it started, how long it takes. It takes the attempt and puts the error code into something that's dynamic based on when you ran it, so you can just hit up and enter, and then it's the date at the end. So I can see it exited with a 1, and the time I ran it was this time, right there, 21:31. That's probably last night. Yep. All right, let's run the thing again. I can see it exited 0 both times, and there are the times for each one. So now I can run the same thing over and over and over while I'm debugging it, and I gather all the exit codes so I know when it's failing or how it's failing. And sometimes it exits with a 1, sometimes with a 127, sometimes with a 255, and this means different things. So that's interesting. That was a pain. So how do I solve this problem? Well, you use a different shell. That's what you do. So let's replace it with Zeesh. And it'll look very different to you. Some of this is stylistically kind of my choosing. There are a lot of options, but it's also very configurable. There's my shell. Let's see what the version is. Zeesh. There we go. Test.sh. Whoa, 1 second. That's all I had to do. Check that out. I have timestamps down the right, and I've got my error codes for each command there, and I've even got the position in my history and everything that I'm doing over there. So that was a lot nicer. And I have all this information just by scrolling up or saved in my history file to some degree. This is just one way that I can kind of exemplify the benefits of Zeesh, but there are numerous others. Another thing I wanted to mention is you might have saw that I was purposely inconsistent with how I ran certain things in these examples. So here you'll see $paren shell version, but in this version I do backticks and I don't use the curly brackets. And here I go pretty native because I didn't actually have to do all that stuff, but it works. So pretty much the rest of my presentation, you'll see me do the same thing multiple different ways, just to kind of give ideas of, there's always multiple ways it's going to come out. So let's talk about different categories of things you can do with the command line. One of my favorites is using the bang or a parrot. So welcome to Bash History Expansion. So that's cat change.txt. It's new line delimited file. So let's change those to commas, but in macOS, it's this despicable command, which you'll see me struggle through typing last night. Or actually, no, that's this morning, 10:19 this morning. Now I'm kind of burning through some things, we'll go back to it. But I'm running this command, and it's now comma delimited, great. Well, let me run that prior command again. So bang, bang, runs your prior command. And it worked. So let's do an LSAL of the last argument. So bang dollar is the last argument of the prior command. So I was able to do LSAL of change.txt. I can also do global substitutions. So I do bang and then this big string. What I'm doing is a global substitution of change me with other things. So this change me right here is going to turn into other thing. See, LSAL other thing. And the way that this one works is it'll globally substitute it. So if I had change me 7 times in the power line, every instant of that is now other thing. And down here you can use some carrots. Other thing change me, and this will only do the first instance of it for the prior line. So just different quick ways of changing prior commands without having to completely retype them from scratch or use your arrow and go blah, 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 blah. How cool is that? And also, I don't know if you noticed, but I've got timestamps the whole way through and music codes and things like that. Because you just get that all the time. All right, let's talk about these suckers. So we're going to talk a little bit about shell expansion. So that's ls example.txt with a star at the end. So if there was any other matches, you would see them. Let's take a backup. So I'm going to do a cp example.txt curly bracket comma period backup curly. And so what that does is that actually expands into something that we'll have to go back to see. Just let me do that. What that does is actually going to expand into 2 things. I forget the file name, example.txt space example.txt.bkp. And so you'll see here that it kind of made that file. And so this is a handy way of not having to retype the file name and potentially get it wrong. Because if you've done this manually, you've got it wrong many times. And then you'll notice that I did a for loop, 4x and curly bracket 1.254. That just does a for loop of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way to 2, 3, 4. And it's a nice way if you want to hit a bunch of different IPs, if you're scanning for something or something along those lines. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about here is subshelling with these curly braces. So you can see that I did LSAL something that doesn't exist. And then this double pipe means if that failed, if that's exited anything other than 0, do this. If these were ampersand, ampersand, it would only perform those commands if it exited successfully, exit 0. But one of the tricks with this is you cannot do multiple commands in response to it unless you start going into like an if then else statement. So kind of a quick hacky way to do this in the command line would be to put these curly braces here and here, and then I can put any series of commands that I'd like to do in response to identifying that this command failed. So I'm echoing error, and I'm echoing some second thing. And then I just end those with semicolons, and you'll see, yes, an error, and then it echoed my error because it identified that error, and then it also echoed my second thing. Yeah, cool. So, burning through this, so we can talk more about maybe some of these things in the appendix. And slow me down, ask questions, throw something at me, heckle, whatever you'd like. Tell me that Bash is better. Talk about C shell, corn shell. I'm game. Let's do it. Control. This is my favorite key. I believe this is the big one. Yeah. So Control L will clear the terminal. You can see I'm pretty good at typing without modifying the line. So I'm going to echo a bunch of things, and it's gonna, I've got stuff on my terminal. It's kind of messy. Now I want to do a next thing, but I kind of want this to be the top. So it's easy for me to see. I just pressed Control L. And it moved it up there, but it didn't modify any of that echo. Then you can hit Control C to say send SIGINT. You see right there, SIGINT. Which is awesome. Kind of cleared out that line, but that's not the easiest way to do it. We'll get back to that. You can also cut everything to the left of the cursor without causing an error with Control U. So let's do something Control U, and then actually press Control U. Oh, it's all gone, but it's also cut. So I can paste it with Control Y. Control Y. So paste, paste, paste. I can do that quickly. Kind of nice cut and paste at the command line. You can also use Control A and Control E to jump to the beginning and the end of the line. So you'll see I'll type out a little echo statement and the cursor will just jump back and forth. That's just holding command Control in without letting go of it, going between A and A. Really handy if you're like, oh, I need to sudo that, and you don't want to do sudo bang bang. Or oh, I need to add this parameter to the end of it. You can do that. You can also delete word by word instead of holding the delete down and seeing how fast it can repeat itself. You can hit Control W, so it looks a little something like this, word by word. Just like on a Windows box if you hit Control Enter. But then also if you do Control Y, you saw right there, put it back. And then you can delete to the end of line with Control K. So I think I popped the beginning, delete the line with Control K, and bring it back again with Control Y. So let's paste that at a time, just why not? I'm surprised how much I remember all this. Probably because I did it at 1:36 p.m. today. And then you can jump by words using Option F to go forward and B to go back. Who the fuck it? Makes perfect sense. So you can jump around. So instead of holding that left arrow key or holding the right arrow key, you can go a little bit faster, jumping back and forth. And then finally, you'll see I purposely fixed some typos here, so you can see how you would actually use this. I hit Control A, arrowed over, changed it, and you use Control D to send end of transmission character, which is like exit, but it's not always exit. So I spit up a new shell, and I hit Control D to actually send the bash. And I actually set hit Control D here as well, but in Zsha doesn't clutter up your terminal with 30 things like bash does when it's unnecessary. So check that out. Interesting note about Control D. Have you ever been stuck in a terminal and you're like, man, how do I get out of this? Is it quit paren? Is it exit? Is it quit without parens? What is it? Well, usually it's Control D. You don't have to remember all of those things anymore. That became really apparent to me when I started doing work for the Apache Software Foundation and working more in Hadoop, and there were all these different shells and all of them were slightly different. And I had to try to remember all of them. I'm like, well, let me just try Control D, and you know what, it worked. And I dug into it, and you know what, that's pretty much the standard across the industry. So let's all start using that, okay? To be honest, it just simplifies things so much. What are we going to talk about here? Using Control S to pause when things are scrolling. So if any of you guys work with systems, you probably tailed a log that just kind of ran and ran and ran and ran and ran. So here I actually have something in the background writing Moby Dick to a file because it's a great example. And I hit Control S, that's why it pauses. If you want to do it, pauses and then hit space or Control Q. Technically is what you're supposed to put, it kind of resumes it. That is pretty cool. So, so you don't have to try to scroll up or hold the bar up to the right level as it keeps dropping to the bottom to follow the tail. Just pause it and do whatever you need. No questions. That's good.
So how did you, I see you did Control C there, did that get you, I'm guessing, did that get you to the bottom of the tail after did that?
No, so when you hit Control S, it stops the scrolling, and then you literally press any key, and it'll just jump right to the bottom and start resuming again. That Control C at the end was my lazy way of exiting so that the screen recording would stop.
Okay, thanks.
That's how this program that I use works. All right, and alternatively, maybe you shouldn't even do that at all. Tailing -f is kind of an old way of doing it. Here, let's start with this guy. You can use less with capital F. So you do this, you can see if I hold Shift G or capital G, it just kind of tails the fall to the bottom. But I can also stop it, search around, jump to the top, jump to the bottom, tail the end of it, all dynamically with the keyboard without exiting or stopping the flow of the program or anything like that. It's generically likely a better approach to tailing -f a file, but I'm a judge. I'm a little old school too, so I still do the tail up myself. 10 minutes, cool. Let's talk about doc files. So I looked at my home directory on my Mac, and I was like, I wonder how many doc files I had, and it was way more than I expected, 62 doc files. So doc files are generally a way to store a configuration for a given program on a Linux-based system. So if you use VI or Vim, the .mrc. If you use Git, the .git config, things along those lines. There's all kinds of options. I know that Spotify has one, and things along those lines. Generically best practice to store configs in that sort of way that's specific to your account. So I'm going to just give you a quick tour of my 2 Git config files because they're pretty straightforward, but they're also kind of handy. So you'll see that I have my username and email up here, a signing key specified, and then you'll see a couple of aliases down here. So if I say git tags, it does that. If I do git hist, it does this big old command, which is kind of nice. And then the key part is this path equals source CISO git config, include if gitdir is source CISO ***. So that means that if I put all the code that I want to commit as on behalf of my employer, CISO, if I put all of that under home directory src CISO, and I put that git config in my home directory, and I put this one in my other directory, I don't have to manage my names anymore or what account I'm committing as. It will automatically identify that I'm under source CISO, load the second git config file, and use my new name and account. And it can use any other configs that I want as well, anything that can fit in the git config file. So it's really handy to not have to remember when to jump back and forth between persona A or persona B. It's also a really good tactic if you want to be anonymous in some situations, but you're okay being overt in others. You might want to have an anonymous directory where you do something like this, and you just make it, dead. You also notice, again, along the theme of doing everything in a slightly different way throughout this presentation, that I did VI for git config, which opens it in an editable way, and I did view, which is the same thing as doing VI in a read-only mode. So if you're going to open a file but not change it, you probably shouldn't be VIing it. You should probably view it or less of it. Or even more if you're coming from my TDDs. So I was going to talk about editor wars and Emacs versus Nano versus VI, and then I realized that VI is just better. So I'm only going to talk about that. And to be honest, I didn't have that much time, so I just want to cover a couple of things. Plus, I actually use VI all the time. So I have no idea what this is surprising me too. You can use external programs in VI, and you can kind of change the text to be text. So you'll see here, I'm going to open up file.csv, and sure, that's the contents, great, pretty normal. But down here, I'm going to do %bang xxd, boom, I've got text. And I can do the same thing with -r, take it back to normal. So kind of select if you're looking at a file and you're like, what is the actual text of this? How can I look at like non-shellable web characters and weird things like that? So you can actually invoke XXD within VI, and I'm sure you can do this with Emacs and other things. Jim would tell me if I couldn't. Good, yeah, yes.
You can do anything in Emacs.
You can do anything in Emacs because it's pretty much an operating system, right?
It is.
Yeah. Takes some memory. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about indenting and managing files with VI. So see at the bottom, I'm going to kind of put things here prior to actually running them so that you see what I'm doing, because otherwise you wouldn't have any idea. And let me start this over again. I'm going to use the right caret, so I'm indenting things to the right. So example.json file, we've got these brackets here. I'm going to angle %, that's going to move everything within those brackets at the same time. I don't have to say how many lines, just from here to the end of there. Then I'm going to do a similar thing just for the host section, so just indenting the host section. But there's other ways you can do this too. You can just do this line, which is just a caret. Or I can do the next 5 lines, for instance, with caret 5 caret. You see, I'll do that here in a minute. There's only 4 lines, but if there was another line, it would affect that too. That's pretty much it for that. Oh, this is an interesting kind of almost like macros, but a much simpler version of BI macros. So you can enter block mode and then use the arrow code to select a bunch of things. You'll see it'll be pretty obvious. So I'm going to select all of these semicolons at the beginning, and then I hit the X key to delete them because I didn't want them anymore. That was pretty fast, but even better, you can select all those lines and make the same change to all of them in parallel, so I don't have to add, do it, 1 comma down left, 1 comma down left, 1 comma down left, and I don't have to make a macro either. So I do the same, Control V, hide all of them, and then hit Shift I to go into insert mode, make the changes I want, and escape, and it will apply them to all of them. So you'll see, I'm going to select all of them, Shift I, 1 comma, escape, and there we go. I've done it to all of my lines, and it took like half a second. I didn't have to make a macro either, which are like, oh gosh, horrible. So talk a little bit about setoff. So this is the way that you do it in Zeesh, in Bash. There are environment variables that do similar things. I'm really just going to talk about one specific thing, which I'll often give as guidance to people if you end up on a pen test or something like that, finding sensitive information in a history file. So you can do this hist ignore space. And if you preface something with a space, it should not go in your history. So you see I did history -2, that's the last 2 commands, but you'll see it's still in there because it's the plus O. Minus O, and I do 708 colon, which is 708 to the end, so I don't have to know how far back I want to go. You'll see that echo sensitive 2 did not make it in there because I enabled set plus O hist ignore space, and then I ran a command with space at the beginning. It didn't go into my history file. There are other approaches. There are other approaches as well. You can clear out your history. You can delete specific commands. But this is a really quick and easy way. Hey, if I'm going to run mongo-u username-p password, let me just throw a space at the beginning of it. If I've got this configured, I know it's not going to my history file. I can even make an alias that runs a lot of those things that has the space in it already, so that I don't even have to remember to do a space. I just have to use the alias that I set up, which is easier for other reasons. Yeah.
Did you have to explicitly turn that on? Or was it?
I turned it off for the demonstration. It is on by default for Zeesh. It is off by default for Bash, and you have to set the environment variable. Urgent?
That was my question.
Oh, okay. Yep. Yeah. So you'll notice I kind of did a lot of shell manipulation in order to illustrate some of these benefits. And this is kind of the grand finale. So I love aliases, and I love being a happy person, and sometimes I'm just feeling a little bit down. I've had a long day, so you can do really cool things like set aliases of happiness, which are while true loops, and just give me something funny to look at. So here we're going to do a bunch of fortunes that get piped through LOCAT and CalSay, and they will randomly get set by different things in varying colors, and it'll just do this infinitely until I feel better. So this is what I do for hours on end, and in the evenings when I'm not feeling so great. So yeah, there are all kinds of fun little things that you can do with big one-liners that look like that. And that's my presentation. Did anyone have any questions? I've got some other handy commands at the end we can talk about a minute or two.
What do you got another minute or two, Kat?
I'll do it then.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. All right, so we've got a little bit more text here, but I'm not going to talk through the commands. I'll just talk through what they do, and I'll publish the slides. So say you have a JSON file, and all you have is a bash command line. Man, that sucked the cool information out. Really what you should do is install JQ, but if you can't install JQ, you could use awk. So this essentially pulls under the host, and then IP. It gets the 4th field, which is the IP address, given that it has double quotes in a way that's valid JSON. That's kind of cool. I did, for whatever reason, I didn't know this for like 7 years, but you can open BI and go directly to the line that you want to. So right there, add a little plus at the end and the line number. This one's cool. So you can diff the output of scripts. So when you run this, you'll actually run these 2 scripts, take the inputs, feed them into diff, and then diff them, and so you don't need a temporary file. Kind of handy sometimes, especially if you're trying to stay off disk on a pen test or something along those lines. Similarly, a little bit red team-ish. If you want to send a file over the network and quickly encrypt it, and you have netcat and OpenSSL, you can run this. So OpenSSL CPC encrypt it, the file, give it the file and send it over netcat. And on the other side, I'm sorry, this is you sending it, and this is you receiving it. You can see OpenSSL, netcat, this one is netcat and OpenSSL. When you run these commands, it'll just tell you dynamically type in the password, do whatever you want, it'll be encrypted on the wire. Kind of handy to drop to rip a file out of an environment. Also, OpenSSL S client. So I did a couple of years in the trenches of managing a multi-tier infrastructure for a large bank and doing a lot of certificate-based troubleshooting and a lot of TLS little boxing and things like that. And OpenSSL S client connect is like my favorite tool in the world. So if you ever need to figure out what's going on, you can do that. And actually, this will do the TLS negotiation and then just give you a prompt, and you can interact with it from there. And I'm going to skip down here. This is a similar way to do that for a mail server that has start TLS required on it. So if you just do S-client debug start TLS SMTP CRLF and connect to the mail server, it will do all the handshaking and upgrade it to start TLS, and you can do your HELOs or DHLOs or whatever from there off. You can run something and pipe it and then TCP off another box. Kind of handy if you want to shoot a shell back to something, but you don't have that cap. And strace, which is like, man's best friend, I guess, to see what a PID, an existing PID is doing regarding CPU syscalls, and it also will follow any chow threads. And this is the JSON file I used earlier, and this is just a plug for Vim Adventures. If you're not familiar with VI, you should probably move towards it because it's better than everything else. And this is a cool little interactive game to use the command line to interact with VI, and you kind of, right now the box is around this little guy and saying, hooray, I can't believe this shadowy cursor has come at last. And you just navigate the maze, and then eventually you get to more advanced things in the future. Kind of fun. Yes, sir?
Is the game written in Vim script?
I don't know what the game is written in, to be honest. You can go to the website and check it out. I think that's my last slide. Yeah, that's my last slide. So, cool. Thanks.